Oh, good. All right.
It was. It was lovely. Tomb of the Spider Queen is the first map. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of heroes, a lot of variation starting to come in from certain teams.
Yeah.
And they appear to be working well, but Tracer still seems to be less popular, but still a constant for what I've seen.
Yeah, definitely true. So, Tomb of Spider Queen, of course, always a very interesting map. I love how Braxis, by the way, always makes it through in China, or almost always makes it through, but still never gets picked up by anyone. CE, traditionally speaking, is a team that used to play on that map every now and then, but mostly only against weaker teams where they just wanted to get a quick win in. So, let's see. Maybe we're going to get to Braxis today. Not necessarily in this series, but maybe in one of the 4 best of 2 series that we're going to be presenting to you. By the way, I've seen multiple people in chat being a little bit confused about the format that China is using. So for all of you who may tune in for the first time or who are just not really familiar with the Chinese format in general, instead of a best of 5 system that we have in the other major regions, we are using a best of 2 system with double round robin, which means there could be a 1-1 tie. You basically get a point for every map you win. So ideally, if you win 2-0, you get 2 points. If you have a draw, it's a 1 point gain for both teams. If you lose, you don't get anything. And double round robin means every matchup is going to be played twice in one phase.
Exactly. It's going to take a little bit of time to re-rotate back round, but they will all play against each other at least twice in the entire format. But we've got a while to wait for that, as we're only in week 2 of this particular phase. Garrosh, still just so popular these days. And even with Tracer nerfs, the Overwatch Assassin still reigns supreme. Junkrat is coming out.
Yeah, Junkrat, of course, also proving to be so strong still across all the regions, basically. There are a lot of good Junkrat players, and the advantages and the benefits that that hero can bring to the table is just nothing to be sneezed at. Strong mayhem, strong dislocation during teamfights with a concussion mine. You can basically keep heroes like Garrosh at bay when they're trying to charge into your ranks, trying to get that infamous combo of heroes. So Junkrat, of course, also with a Riptire, ever so strong at dominating the pace of teamfights. So definitely a strong pick.
And I don't know how much you've played of him recently, but I personally think when Phoenix comes in, Junkrat is going to be not picked any less, because I personally think he's one of the best heroes for dealing with a Phoenix. Being able to consistently poke and keep that shield off really kind of neuters a lot of Phoenix's disengage ability.
I absolutely agree with you. I think we're not done seeing Junkrat anytime soon. Now, this is interesting. We're seeing a Tacita Tracer coming in from Soa right off the bat. Now, this could mean 2 things. A, they basically practiced Tracer quite a lot themselves, and that's quite unusual because we're not used to seeing Soa play a lot of Tracer. We saw it last week, I think, with TY on the Tracer. Didn't look that great against SBT, but there could also be a preemptive measure against C, because on the other hand, a Luful's Tracer is super scary.
Very true. So removing that out the way, even with Malfurion banned, and Stukov's still a good second pick in that area, so it makes a lot of sense. Now you can see CE hovering over the Rhaegar, once again trying to limit the support options. Rhaegar and Uther would probably be next on the list when you have a Tracer as your assassin.
Yeah. So what we're going to see here, the Rhaegar, of course, as you said, the cleanse. Very strong tool against both Stukov and Junkrat in particular. They want to get that out of the way. Malfurion already being taken away there as well. And even if Soa were to pick the Uther, it would not be the best case scenario for them, because Uther has very long cooldowns. So if he drops 1 heal, let's say on a target that's different than Tracer, Tracer would then have to wait for a longer period of time until she can fully commit again. So Uther, oftentimes due to the fact that he's so slow and cooldown dependent, not always the best support with a Tracer. However, he can be very strong against a Tracer as well.
So that kind of limits the options if we go by the current showed heroes by Soa here. Kind of limits their options to Alexstrasza and Lucio.
Yeah, Lucio, in my opinion, quite frankly, is a support that's oftentimes neglected here. I don't think he's as bad as many teams make him look. And I'm pretty sure he would be one of the more reliable supports to go with a Tracer. You mentioned the Alexstrasza here. I think she struggles a little bit on rotation-heavy maps like Tomb, but she thrives on more static maps like Infernal Shrines, where you have one objective and you need to stay there. If you just use Dragon Queen, for example, on Tomb, the enemy team could just rotate to the other half of the map, just wait until the Dragon Queen is expired, and then try to re-engage.
CE bringing out the Johanna here, kind of scared. They have had mixed results with this hero in the past, aka mostly losses.
Yeah.
That's kind of mixed because they've thrown in like 1 win or 2.
Yeah.
As long as they throw in an actual second tank with engage abilities, I don't feel so bad about it, but they have had serious issues with this hero in the past.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Now, we do have indeed the Uther. I mean, if you think about it, Uther probably still, despite his weakness when it comes to keeping Tracer alive compared to other supports, I still think he offers the most, right? He offers bonus armor to Garrosh, making him even more resilient. The Greymane Divine Shield can be very powerful still, so I think, given what they had, it's still looking good. And yes, baby! We're going to see Varian making it into the fray. A dedicated Tracer counter now on the side of CE. I couldn't be more excited, Tetcher.
Me neither. That's a fantastic idea. We see the changes. I've been playing it in Quick Match as well, and even on the Brawl. That's been fun. Twin Blades Variant on the Brawl is absolutely absurd and dumb, but I love it. But the fact is, for those who don't know and have not been keeping up with the patch notes recently, Variant got probably one of the most severe changes we've ever seen in the hero. It's only the second time ever that a hero's heroic ability has been moved to a basic ability since Sylvanas got possession switched.
Yeah.
So that's kind of crazy. As such, basically Varian had his level 4 and 10 talents swapped. So now he gets Taunt at level 4, Twin Blades at level 4, Colossus Smash, I almost forgot, I was going to say Concussive Smash there, but that's Junkrat, at level 4. Therefore, he is coming online to deal with heroes like Tracer a lot quicker.
Yeah, and that is, of course, particularly powerful on maps like Tomb, right? Where you have to seek engagements or where you have to go for skirmishes all the time. Whereas on bigger maps like, let's say, Cursed Hollow, where you basically spend a lot of time in lane, maybe farming mercenary camps, and you don't have that much direct confrontation, the early kick-in of that former level 10 is not going to be as severe, as significant here. But on Tomb of the Spider Queen, with a lot of roaming, with a lot of rotating, we're going to see some early game taunts potentially. But ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the team on the blue side, known as CE, with a Lufel on that Tychus, Wind plays Varian, 365 on Stukov, KTY on that Junkrat, and Zuyu plays the main tank this time, plays Johanna.
And on the right-hand side, it is going to be start over again, with Faye on the Tassadar, Uncle G on the Uther, TY on the Tracer, Klong on the Garrosh, and Sorry is playing that Greymane. Very much a favorite of his.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have to continue talking about Varian a little bit here. Already we see Overpower coming in.
Oh no, what a shame.
That is nothing out of the ordinary here up to this point. However, Overpower, of course, has really decent value if you go Taunt at level 4, because you can guaranteed procs of that bonus damage from Heroic Strike if you Taunt and then parry immediately. So against a Tracer, who's very squishy, doesn't have a high health pool in the first place, you know, she's going to struggle a little bit. Also, we could see the first change, or one of the few changes coming into Varian as well. You now have life gain after hitting your Lion's Fang onto any target, but against enemy heroes, it'll give you way more healing. So that is so huge. Oftentimes, Varian players are now like, oh, the hero's gotten significantly weakened because of his HP, because of his lower damage than before. But the life steal, the life gain from using Lion's Fang correctly makes up for it.
It's such a big deal, honestly.
Yeah.
Having played it myself, it's such a big deal being able to self-sustain in lane now. The fact is, Varian can now be considered an off-lane hero in some cases, due to that self-sustain that you can have.
Definitely true. I actually have played Varian in the offlane way more than 4-man rotation, because he is now decent. He has got self-sustain, which is one of the core requirements for any offlaner, like Sonya, like Dehaka, like Lyric. Those all have means to keep themselves in the lane, and now with Varian gaining access to that as well, he's pretty decent at that. But here, CE is playing it a little differently. Junkrat in the bottom lane, fulfilling that solo lane role, and Varian is actually in the rotation.
We actually just see there slight issues due to, I'm pretty sure that almost the entirety of CE just disconnected.
Yeah.
So that's fun. So we
Yeah.
have a quick pause, and then we
have a
will
quick
get back
pause.
into the game as soon as possible.
Yeah, we've had a couple of those disconnects last week as well, but usually they're resolved very quickly. We do have, of course, a studio offline environment here at HGC China, so there are experts at hand who could take a look into this. So, yeah, very interesting. We're going to see a level 4 taunt, most likely. I wouldn't consider Colossus
just make a
Smash
pun?
and Twin Blades. What was that?
Did you just make a pun? Very interesting.
I mentioned that a lot. I try not to overdo it, though. I wanted to save that for later. But I'm glad you found it. I'm glad.
God damn it, Kendrick.
No, it is interesting, though, because Colossus Smash, although I still think it is playable, I wouldn't say it is viable at a competitive level like this. And Twin Blades was probably the build that was hit the most because of the lower base attack damage and the weaker scaling in the early game, right? So Varian will now have to take even longer to hit as hard as he used to at level 10 with the Twin Blades. Also, keep in mind, if you pick Twin Blades at level 4, you don't have lifesteal immediately, because at level 7, you're only going to get access to Second Wind.
That is true, but that can be made up at least a little bit for with, once again, that Lion's Fang.
Yeah.
Being able to get that self-sustain that way, it's a pretty decent way to play the hero, but once again, like you said, it's a little bit harder to justify due to the lower damage.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we have a couple of talent changes there as well. Most importantly, Lionheart, a brand new talent at level 7, which is going to amplify and increase the healing done by Lion's Fang against enemy heroes even more. And that is oftentimes... that is oftentimes the go-to talent now for most variant players that I've seen in Hero League in the Masters ranks. So let's see if China is actually going to go that route, or if they're going to go for one of my personal favorites on certain maps, the Victory Rush Tetcher. Tell me more about Victory Rush's changes first before you go,
I don't really remember the changes, honestly. I think I just have too much of a bad opinion of it from before.
No worries.
Let me see them.
No worries. I'm gonna tell you. So
break it down for me.
On certain maps that include a lot of monsters and strong rotations, short rotations with minions, Victory Rush is now much more useful because of the lower cooldown, right? You have a 30-second cooldown, which I think was 60 seconds before. I'm not exactly sure. But with monsters from Infernal Shrines, for example, like the skeletons being around, you can have the powerful healing procced super often in those phases. And also on Tomb of Spider Queens, right, where there are so many minions running around all the time. The Web Weaver summons, the big Web Weavers themselves, they all count as monsters, which is basically objective-based minions, right? So you have access to that powerful healing way more frequently than before.
Very true. So it is a more reasonable talent, especially on maps like this. Yeah. I will definitely give it that. Not being able to choose when you get your heal, though, is still a potential issue and a potential reason why it would not be picked. It is also, like you said, Lionheart's pretty decent. Second Wind is reasonable.
It's okay. You know.
It's great. Yeah, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have a huge issue with any of the talents on that level, to be fair, but personally, I still lean towards either Lionheart or Second Wind.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assumption. And of course, what also needs to be taken into consideration right now when playing Varian, at level 10, you gain access to Shield Wall, one of the most discussed talents in the game, especially in his prior version. Right now, you basically have a lower cooldown on your parry, but you only have one charge left, and you don't have the increased duration anymore. So now timing your protected, by the way, is going to be much more important than before, because if you use it too early, you might struggle in those upcoming team fights in the upcoming seconds there.
Who was Soa's other damage dealer? Like it was Tracer, Tassadar, and then what else? Greymane. That's very auto-attack focused, don't you think?
It is.
I don't think they need Shield Wall. We could see the return of Warbringer.
You know what? That's an interesting thought. Warbringer, although it is still a wonky talent in many cases, it did receive another change as well. And that is pretty interesting to notice as well. You can now charge to allied heroes, similar to Illidan's Friends of Foe, which is pretty cool.
It's kind of a big deal. Being able to disengage as a tank is sometimes as important as being able to engage. It's why ETCs you'll sometimes see getting sneaky escapes with power slides. Whereas on the other hand, Johanna, you'll see everyone just trying to kill her for a really long time, as she doesn't have that kind of disengage potential. Having something that allows you to get to allies is pretty reasonable if you open with Taunt and realize it's not going according to plan.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, we also have to think about an old familiar talent called Shattering Throw against Tassadar shields. That is amazing. It actually was one of the reasons why Varian, even in his prior version, was considered to be such a strong counter to the Tassadar Tracer. Auto attacks, shred shields. You can activate it to shred even bigger shields, which is certainly going to come in quite handily. Now, something that I found out the other day, Tetra, by the way, when playing against Garrosh, and Garrosh is low on health, right? Gains tons of armor. Tassadar shield is on Garrosh. As a variant, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to crush that shield. But guess what? The armor damage reduction also works against Shattering Throws. So my mighty Shattering Throw, went like, oh, only a tiny mini bit of that shield was gone, and the shield was even still existent. It was literally mind-blowing. I've never seen anything like it, but we learned. Armor affects Shattering Throw. Good to know.
It does. Shattering Throw is just a straight damage ability. It's going to be affected by armor in most ways. So, like you said, that can be an issue, but once again, you still have that extra 200. Jesus, Kenshiro is getting animated there. Surprised me.
I think he was just doing the twin blade pose. You guys couldn't see it, but I think our Chinese colleagues are getting very agitated about potential twin blade plays.
Quite possibly, but yeah, you get the extra 200% damage on physical attacks against targets with shields, so even with that armor on top of the shields, there's a pretty good chance you will burn them down eventually, and of course, with Tassadar being in its current form, the shields don't last too long.
Exactly, so looks like it takes a little longer to get all the players back into the game, because as Tetra said, there were multiple disconnects happening on the side of SOA, I believe, so maybe they're even going to restart the game if things get super weird. I mean, it was just level 2.
No first blood. No first blood. Exactly. No one had really got a huge advantage. It would be completely fine to do so.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a mishap. Oh, never mind. There we go. Back in the game.
Hurrah.
Looks like no remake was necessary, so we're going to still see the outcome, the continuation of game number 1 between CE and SOA. Enjoy, guys.
So, looking at the first talents, KTY easily able to escape. He has gone for that, put some English on it. Not surprising. This is the usual talent we see these days. Silver Touch for Uther, kind of a go-to if you're working with Tracer, due to the fact that you need to stay in range to healer.
Yeah. That is a very good point.
Still intends to go for that into backline blow-up build.
Yeah, which is basically the main reason why Malfurion is so good with Tracer, right? Why he is the go-to support buddy that you want to pair her up with because of his range. He doesn't even need range. Once the Q is dropped on Tracer, he can just spend the Ws wherever, whenever. As long as he hits enemy heroes, Tracer is going to receive the healing, and she doesn't really need to worry about positioning anymore. Now, there comes a strong lurking on preventing SOA from defending without getting silenced. Uncle G with an attempted flank here gets slowed by Varian, who's got taunt now.
The taunt slowing down Uncle G, easily able to pick up the kill. Lovely start there with Varian with 2 different types of slow. They even are able to get Tassadar thanks to that Junkrat mine.
Yeah, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of early level 4 taunts here. Even gets thrown into the fray by his buddy. And Garrosh, in that case, you know, that was actually an assist for the enemy team almost, it seemed to me. You don't want to throw a Varian into the enemy team. The parry is still going to work out against forward shots anyways, so he's likely not going to take that much damage. So Garrosh and Varian, although they weren't working together in the lore, this time they certainly did.
CE take a huge lead. They are able to turn in. They got both towers and the gate here, and 3 kills, sorry, I forgot to count. They are about to snowball potentially very, very far out of control as the Web Weavers begin to descend.
Yeah, and here they come. Now, level 7, we talked about this. They're going to be very interesting. Let's see. Varian is going for that victory rush, as we pointed out towards. So, going for the big burst heal on auto attacks with a low cooldown of 30 seconds, and the cooldown is lowered even more for every minion and monster that dies in his vicinity. So, that's going to be really interesting to see how much healing value Wind can get out of this.
Right now, you can see he's pretty healthy. Doesn't need that much healing at all so far. But he's definitely getting stuck in, and like I said, this is a good rotation map. You're going to have it up pretty constantly here. And Garrosh, they attempted to, once again, full engage on him under a fort, but Garrosh, a little bit too tanky without it being 5 men against him, was able to survive.
Yeah, and already, Tetra, this is going crazy well for CE. Look at how they're snowballing ahead of their opponents. I mean, with the exception of Tassadar and maybe Greymane, there isn't really a lot of decent wave clear available for Soa, which on this map on Tomb is quite the big issue, isn't it? Because you cannot keep those web weavers at bay, and already towers destroyed top, the fort destroyed in the middle. This is getting out of hand for Soa.
It really is. CE are just grabbing more and more. You can see TY trying to turn in, instead gets taunted. Not quick enough this time. Tiger's perfectly in range. You can see the increased cooldown. One of the nerfs to Tracer, really affecting her escape abilities there, but she is able to get out of range. Now Lufel getting turned on, but they can't catch up. Even Klong can't get there. There's a really good silence knock-up. They can try and get Varian over a wall here into that fort range, but they can't afford to miss position doing so.
And look at the sheer presence that Wind on that Varian had in that choke point. They were not brave enough, Team Soa that is, to actually just pass by the Varian, because they were always afraid of the potential taunt plays here. Once again, a taunt on Garrus this time into the silence. That is, of course, a nice combo. The bomb goes on Varian as well. No protected yet, but the damage as well reduced heavily by the pulse bomb after the recent balance updates, Tetcher.
Yes, it is, and that could be, once again, a problem. Tracer's burst capabilities have been very heavily reduced. Varian finds yet another target. This time it's Sorry, and this time they're able to pick up the kill and remove a lot of gems from the hands of Soa.
Yeah, I think those were at least 12 or 15 gems they're lost by Sorry. You can't get caught against Varian now on that map if you're carrying all those gems, because they're dearly needed. The only way for Soa to stabilize in this mid game right now is to get a pay-in to stabilize, maybe get a tower here and there, and then balance out the XP count slowly but surely. Here comes a slow, here comes a taunt, strong overpower damage, and Tracer is no more, losing even more gems. This is a disaster for Team Soa.
The heroic strike from Varian makes him so good at that burst damage, and this is exactly what people have been talking about with Varian. Able to hard engage like that and do so much burst just on your own during the time it takes for your taunt to wear off is huge. And you can see him here committing to hard engages, the Warbringer with the heroic, to allow him to lock people down more and have an escape tool. To cleanse has to be used on Sorry. Mind Shield might have to be as well, but it's not even available yet. Level 10's not here. And down goes Greymane.
Down he goes, falling victim to the Rip Tire explosion. Well done. Not even the stealth granted by Ice in the Dark could protect the Greymane from that onslaught. Here goes Varian. Warbringer causes him to always have a charge ready. Now, a significantly lower cooldown on the charge. Also, he has the ability to charge to friendly targets if he gets caught for too deep for Garrosh, by the way. So Garrosh uses the toss, uses Varian as a flinging tool, and then Varian is just going to peace out by charging to an enemy hero. Let's see if he can actually do it here. He also maintains 2 charges of parry, which is huge against keep shots, tracer shots. So huge. There we could actually see the dash to a friendly target.
Indeed, going to a wall and then to a friendly target. Wind, we're taking some lessons from Karazim, able to put on that pressure. As we see dash is completed for Tychus, making him far more mobile as well. Right now, the least mobile person in the game is probably stuck over Johanna. As we see the defense coming in. Several talents completed for Soa, allowing them the extra range on the healing especially, but Klong doesn't need it. They're once again trying to get Wind, but look at him. The fort, the keep, is completely distracted by the amount of minions. They're about to get a first keep, as middle is defended.
Yeah, Varian gets the healing from Victory Rush as well. He's always in the thick of things, killing Uther here. There goes another Riptire, another kill. It is a nightmare for Soa. They are completely caught off guard here. I wonder if they're even awake at this point, because this is going nowhere anytime soon here for them. Tassadar, no effect, no value whatsoever. The Shattering Throw is here now. The shields are going to get destroyed and crushed. And that is 2 keeps after only 8 minutes and 30, Tetcher.
Kill after kill, and Varian is back. For now, we will see how teams figure him out in the coming weeks. But at the moment, Wind putting on a showcase of this new Varian. Looking for Uncle G, not taunting yet, trying to move forward. They easily kill Garrosh and continue to put on the pressure.
The taunt into Lurking Arm seems to be the combo that is absolutely dismantling Soa up to this point. Keep in mind, guys, the level 4 taunt allows you to go for those cheeky combinations relatively early on in the game. It then allows you to snowball from there. So those extra seconds that the target spends in the Lurking Arm silence is huge. And keep in mind that Varian can also slow the target right after with the Lion's Fang. So it's going to be extremely hard for the target that got taunted in the Lurking Arm to run away just like that. So it's really cool to see the beautiful synergy between Admiral Stukov and King Varian.
As TY once again attempting a turn in. There is Sorry here as well. Varian is quite outnumbered. There's the taunt. Garrosh here to protect. Sorry and Klong moving forward. Good force wall as Wind tries to dash to an ally. It does get caught, but Garrosh getting caught in the silence, being forced to retreat.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and keep in mind that this is... We didn't really intend this game to go... Oh, jumping over the force wall, cheeky Junkrat. We didn't really expect this game to go that well because it is currently rank 2 against rank 3 in the league. SOA have played a fantastic start of the season up to this point, but it really looks to us that they're completely thrown off. They don't really know how to fight this early aggression coming in from CE. They don't seem to know how to handle the variant. 1 point is all that separates the two teams, so this series would be so important for SOA to at least tie.
Lens was good by Uncle G. Hannah protection, keeping TY alive. So important at this stage because there's another set of web weavers coming in, and with 2 keeps down, this is an end game scenario for CE. They're going to look to try and take out the core here.
This is all in or nothing for SOA at this point. If they lose a single member, this could be the end of the game. A huge lurking arm. Once again, the taunt underneath. Divine Shield being cast too late. 2 members down for SOA, and I think Tetcher, CE has done it. I think it could be the first victory on Tomb of Spread in this quick manner. Wonderfully done. Varian leading his troops to victory. GG, ZE taking the lead 1-0 over their opponents.
Huge statement coming into this new patch. The Varian popping up, CE using it to perfection. Insane play and a fantastic start to this week. But that was kind of crazy. You know, the issues we were having about, oh, their Johanna is not very good because it lacks hard engage. Well, how about a Varian for you, Kendrick, to fix the issues we have had with that hero for so long?
The only thing I'm literally worried about right now, Tetcher, is the fact that Blizzard looks at this game. They're like, Varian is still too strong. We still need to reduce the HP. We need to reduce the scaling even more. But slow down, slow your horses, guys. We've only seen 1 game in what was probably Varian's best matchup as well against the Tracer. It is still questionable to see SOA go for that hero in the first place. They weren't able to execute it well against SPT last week. They lost with it. And now they were trying it again after significant changes, after significant nerfs, even according to a lot of people. So maybe they need a little bit more time to get used to how the new Tracer works. Maybe they want to get used to how they play with the Tracer altogether, and maybe they don't want to pick it so early now that Varian is back in business.
Very true, and if you do intend on, then perhaps bans are in order. Now you know it is enough of a threat and an effective enough threat.
Definitely true. I mean, if you're planning on picking Tracer early, first or second, you may as well go for a second ban Varian now because he was ruining Tracer's day. TY not finding his rhythm, not finding his way into the game. And also the Tassadar pick was a little questionable, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it's kind of not required, but it's better now. If you don't have Malfurion, then you kind of need the Tassadar to make new Tracer, especially so she can stay at range a little bit more effective. They even went with the shields, the extra in movement speed on the Tassadar shields. I can't remember the name of the talent, but they went for that to basically just allow Tracer, even without going for the full all-in burst style, to try and just harass and be even more like an annoying mosquito, just flittering around and annoying you, biting you every now and again. But overall, it did not work in this case because Varian able to burst through that, and Tassadar was never really in position to give Tracer those shields.
I think a hero that you may have to consider as well, especially given how strong he is at the moment, would be Medivh if you want to go Tracer. Instead of the Tassadar, you could go for Medivh. True, you lose a little bit of wave clear, right? But you gain a lot of mobility, especially against the Lurking Arm. That could be fantastic. Lurking Arm doesn't prevent you from entering portals. You have complete damage mitigation rather than just shields that will probably get burst by the Shattering Throw later on. And of course, you still have the wonderful tool known as Arcade Explosion, which deals so much damage.
Very true. Very true indeed. I can agree with that. I think that would be a pretty decent way to have dealt with it, especially with even the Force of Will duration decreased. You only need a very short amount of time to block most of Varian's damage, and he actually was taking out over half of Tracer's hit points on his own. Yeah.
And that could have definitely helped Tracer to stay alive. Just in case things go really south, you also have the stop button with Leyline Seal. It's normally very easy to hit the variant with it, and especially on Tomb of the Spider Queen, where you have a couple of choke points near the turn-in areas, near the bruiser camps, you certainly do get a lot of value from the Medivh, and it's been picked on this battleground quite traditionally as well by teams all over the globe. So maybe we're going to see a little bit of Medivh now that variant seems to be back, but we're going to take a look at the statistics here. That was an absolute slaughter against Zoa. We hate to see those one-sided games, but sometimes they happen. 12-0, 5-0 in structures. There was just no land in sight for Team Zoa.
Only one keep surviving in the top lane, which probably would have died if the game had just lasted longer, because there was a Webweaver wave in it. And a 4-level lead, close to a 5-level lead. And as if there was a doubt. As if there was a doubt.
Screenshot taken. Gonna post that on social media in the break. Wind on that variant. Playing it up big time, going for the Warbringer against mainly physical damage, like Tetra pointed out earlier, like Greymane, like Tracer. It makes a lot of sense. You maintain 2 stacks of your parry. That is all you need against forts as well, and keeps alike. So a really cool adjustment to see here on the build of variant, going for that victory rush as well, which was a map-dependent choice, of course. So, yeah, Wind, not only in terms of how he played mechanically, but also how you read the map, how you read the enemy team's composition. Very well played. Very well played. Waiting for that one.
I'm looking disappointedly into the camera as we are going to see Vorskaya Foundry coming in as the second map.